I'm here with U.S. Senate candidate Joe O'Dea as he's making the rounds on his campaign tour before polls close on Tuesday. I just wanted to start off, what is the significance of you making these rounds?
Well, look, we got a big state here, and I want to represent all of it. So I've gotten around to all four corners. We were in Rifle last night. We'll be Grand Junction this morning, on up to Craig, and then back over to Steamboat, making sure we catch the whole northwest corner here, because that's an important part of our state. We need a representative that'll represent all of Colorado, and I feel like it's really important.
Okay, how are you planning on representing all Coloradans and Americans with that?
Well, it means getting out and talking to my constituents, talking to the voters, finding out what's important to them so that I can take that message back to the U.S. Senate. And that's important to Colorado.
And I know a hot topic issue right now is inflation, that your campaign has also been campaigning on with the Inflation Reduction Act and how you're going to combat that. So how are you? What are your plans with that?
Well, we've got to quit spending. Michael Bennet was solely responsible for the $1.9 trillion they dumped into the rescue plan here a year and a half ago that supercharged this inflation across the United States. And we've got to stop the spending. We've got to end the war on energy. The only way we're going to get ahead of this inflation is to drive down the price of fuel, make sure that Americans can afford to fill their cars. And then the last thing is getting government out of the way. Too much red tape causing a lot of inflation. And so those are the three things I'll focus on when I get back to the U.S. Senate.
So what is your thoughts then on the Inflation Reduction Act as it's working right now?
Well, even Bernie Sanders says it's not an Inflation Reduction Act. It's a spend. And the part that really disturbs me is the 87,000 IRS bureaucrats that are in that spend that they're going to send out to shake down working Americans. The Joint Committee on Taxation, a bipartisan committee, says that 75% of those audits are going to be on working Americans making less than $100,000 a year. And that's going to cripple our economy again. We need to quit the spending, and we need to get America back on track, and that's why I'm going to the U.S. Senate.
So with those thoughts on spending then as well, what are your thoughts on spending in terms of our police force and our military then?
Well, you can see that we've got a 30% hike in crime. 25-year high in crime right now. We had a terrible weekend in the metro area last weekend. We had 12 different shootings. That's unacceptable. We've got to get our police forces reinvigorated. Defunding, demoralizing the police that took place 2 years ago has had a catastrophic effect on these police forces. I talked to Chief Paul Pazin in Denver, and he told me that they're short 250 policemen right now just to fill the ranks. We've got to do better. We've got to make sure that we fund that. I believe that taking some of the resources out of the Inflation Reduction Act and putting those into local departments so they've got the resources they need to grow their police departments, and let's get ahead of this crime.
I know that we had already mentioned some plans that you had in place with stop spending, but was there anything specific that comes to mind that you really want to hit on?
Well, we've got to make it easier to go to work than to stay home. I believe in that. Hard work is what I based my entire company on my entire life. And Americans need hard work. That's what we do. We need a sense of accomplishment. And when we make it easier to sit home and not come to work, that's a problem. And so that's the spend that we've got to get ahead of.
So why should Coloradans that are maybe still on the fence of who they should vote for, what would you say to them? Well,
they just need to look at the last 22 months and decide for themselves. Do they like high price of gas? Do they like high prices on groceries? Do they like record crime here in Colorado? Or are they ready for a change? If we look back 22 months ago, we had $2.38 gas, $3.50 diesel. We had an economy that was on fire. Wages were growing. I know my employees were all getting raises, and they could feel a sense of accomplishment. The world was headed in the right direction. In walks Biden and Bennett, and that all ends. And so we've got a decision to make here on Tuesday. Do you like what you have right now, or are you ready for change? I think Joe O'Dea is going to bring change, because I know when I go to Washington, I'm going to stir things up.
Yeah, and something that Biden has been saying on his campaign trail a lot as well is the fight for American democracy. Does that come to mind at all with what you've been seeing?
Well, Biden's got Trump dysphoria. I mean, everything is Trump, Trump, Trump. He doesn't like the wall because Trump liked it. He doesn't like cops because Trump liked it. We got to get away from that. Let's start focusing. Neither party has all the ideas. We need to start focusing on what's good for America and move our country forward.
Okay. Thank you so much for joining me here. Was there anything else that you wanted to add before we wrapped up?
I think I'm good.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you
so much. Yeah.
Nice to be with you.